So Ubisoft is among some of the top developers recently talking about the NX publicly in open statements to the press. Very interesting stuff, and they're pretty much saying almost entirely good stuff. So that's certainly very exciting, but what I wanted to do today is discuss if that's something that we should believe, if it's good news, if it's bad news, and ultimately I would say mostly yes, but just a little bit no. So before I get into dissecting whether or not this is good news and something that we should really believe or not, we need to get into the main quote from Ubisoft that everyone's been talking about. Of course, this comes from CEO of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot, in some public statements he made recently, mostly regarding Ubisoft's approach to brand new hardware and ideas, definitely discussing Nintendo, the NX, and the fact that they are trying to do something brand new. And again, it's one quote in particular amongst many other quotes, which I'm not going to read to you guys, that has everyone talking and buzzing, and it's mostly being well received, which is certainly very exciting. So here's what he said. The new Nintendo console is a fantastic machine. It's really a new approach. It's really Nintendo, which is coming with something new again. We love it. So those are the quotes and the words from Yves Guillemot talking about the NX and Nintendo specifically, and what it is that they're trying to do, and the fact that, of course, Ubisoft is what seems to be on a short list of developers that have NX dev kits, really know kind of from the inside out what Nintendo's doing, what the system is supposed to be capable of, whatever the controller or wacky new idea of playing games is. Ubisoft is obviously on the front lines of that, and it's really interesting. It's exciting for a lot of reasons. It's nerve-wracking for other reasons, and again, that's what I want to discuss. Is this something that we can take at face value as positive, or is it something that we should be worried about? So like I said, this is definitely something. I know that I'm probably like the 100th person you've heard talking about this. A couple of days ago when this quote happened, everyone made a bunch of videos about it. And again, it's been well received, so that's been very exciting. There's some great videos made by Terminator Juice, who I do the podcast with. Also, of course, OJ at Player Essence made, I think, 2 really excellent videos about this. I'll try to remember to link those below for you guys. But again, I know everyone's been talking about this, but I wanted to go ahead and throw my 2 cents in here and kind of talk about it from a different angle on whether or not this is stuff we can believe or trust. And so going back to my initial point, mostly yes, I think that this is stuff that we can get excited about. When you look at the fact that Ubisoft supported Nintendo and the Wii U when that was starting back in 2012, that was really exciting. I really appreciate that they came at that from a very positive angle. That was just such a cool thing to see. And they created one of my top 10 games on the Wii U, and I know many people will disagree, but for myself, Zombie U is an absolute classic on the Wii U. It's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful execution of the gamepad and the functionality of what Nintendo was trying to do with the Wii U, and I appreciate that Ubisoft was really at the forefront of that. And as someone who I just heard on IGN's Nintendo Voice Chat podcast, I want to say it was Jared Petty, but don't quote me because I don't know this guy that well. He made a great quote about Zombie U, and he said that game was one sequel away from becoming a great game. And I totally believe that, and it's really too bad we didn't get to see that come out and, pan out to fruition. But it is what it is. Of course, beyond that, Ubisoft did many other great things on the Wii U. Rayman Legends, among my favorite, the Assassin's Creed games, Splinter Cell Blacklist. They really, really tried really hard. And then, of course, all the Just Dance games. So when you look at the track record of Ubisoft supporting brand new Nintendo hardware with crazy ideas, of course, most notably the Wii U and its gamepad, there's good things there. There's something to potentially trust and feel excited about, that they really care about trying to make Nintendo's consoles or any brand new hardware, because they've supported them all, to be fair, that they really want to try to make everything successful and be at the forefront of new technology. And I like that. It's why, with all the controversy about Ubisoft and some of their quotes, some of their business practices, and even some of their games that might have been broken at launch, it's why I still really like the company, because they do try. They put out a lot of new ideas, and when they really put their minds to it, they are one of the strongest developers in the industry. I personally feel, you may disagree, and that's fine. My personal kind of approach and perspective is I think that they're one of the strongest developers in the industry, again, when they try really hard. Now, of course, there are other elements to this quote that is something to get excited about. And again, a lot of people, Terminator Juice, again, most notably, he made a really good point where something that he said in this quote really stuck out, and really should stick out to you if you're a big Nintendo fan, where he says, quite simply, it's really Nintendo. And that is exciting. And when you think about what Nintendo is, the identity that they've carved out for themselves, I think that those words really need to mean something. We all wonder, what's the NX going to be in terms of power? What is the controller going to be like? What's the online infrastructure going to be like? What's the purpose of the NX? And, some people talk about whether or not it needs to be the most powerful thing ever. Some people talk about whether power still isn't as important. Nintendo needs to worry about making it very cheap, and they just need to focus on their wacky ideas, all these different things. When I hear it's really Nintendo, the number one thing it tells me is that at least the innovation and the thinking outside of the box that really is quintessential Nintendo is still intact. And that is exciting. Now, I do want a powerful machine from Nintendo. And I do want a controller that is going to hopefully be all-encompassing and very inviting to a variety of different kinds of gamers. Absolutely. But there is that core uniqueness and magic to what Nintendo does. And I've said this many times, they don't always succeed in these ideas, but the fact that they try these ideas is part of that Nintendo magic and that innovation and that creativity and imagination. And so when I hear somebody who's working on Nintendo NX products right now, more than Just Dance, which by the way, they have confirmed more than Just Dance is being made, when I hear it from someone within the company making these games, I believe it and I feel excited about it because yes, Nintendo needs to try to do things that are maybe, you could argue, un-Nintendo to try to attract a brand new audience of gamers back into the fold. But there's also things that are very Nintendo that they need to continue to do. And as much as I would still be okay, I've said this before, as much as I would be okay with a back-to-basic system from Nintendo where it's just a regular controller and they're just shooting for the, highest quality possible hardware available, I also don't want them to forget who they are. And so when he says it's really Nintendo, that's very exciting. He mentions it's a really new approach. That's another verbatim quote. It's a really new approach. It's really Nintendo. And when you think about what Iwata was trying to put in place, and then you think about Kimishima taking over, and the fact that he talks about we have created a brand new way to play, quote unquote, whatever that means, you hear someone like, again, Yves Guillemot saying it's a new approach, it's really Nintendo. That means that the core idea of what Kimishima was talking about and what we know Iwata wanted to put in place is still intact. And so again, coming back around, the identity of Nintendo remains. That is very exciting. That means we can probably expect first-party content taking advantage of the wacky ideas of the NX are going to be made and are going to be releasing for the system, and that's really super exciting. Now, are there reasons to maybe not be excited or not trust these comments? Yeah, a little bit, to be fair. It's a third-party company, and we know that a lot of third-party companies in the industry today are sometimes a little bit more shady or untrustworthy in ways that we maybe don't want them to be. Ubisoft has had a track record of like I was talking about earlier, broken games and weird DLC practices. Okay, that's not a wonderful thing. For me, most important, we know that they had some very public, not great statements to say about Nintendo and the Wii U. 2 years ago when the Watch Dogs thing was happening, they very publicly said, Watch Dogs is going to be the last mature-rated game that we make for Nintendo's consoles. Nintendo gamers don't I'm paraphrasing here. Nintendo gamers don't want mature games. They don't buy mature content. They're not into these games. So we're not going to try anymore. So you're going to get Just Dances, and that's pretty much it. And that really bothered me because that wasn't true. And it seemed like they created a release scenario for Watch Dogs on the Wii U where they sent it out to die so that they could use it to maybe prove a point and push their agenda of not wanting to make these AAA, hardcore, mature content and games for Nintendo and for the Wii U. And that bothered me as somebody who, as a Nintendo fan, still likes my mature content and my adult-related and adult-themed games. As a 36-year-old man, I want that stuff. I like that stuff. I waited and bought and supported Watch Dogs on the Wii U despite my access to it on the PS4 and Xbox One because I wanted to believe that they were releasing and making the best version of that game for the Wii U. It turned out to be a great game, but a crappy Wii U game because they didn't take the right advantages of the gamepad, and so they dropped the ball in that game in a secondary fashion. Beyond just the release structure and the release timing, the fact that they didn't really push the visuals and they didn't push the gamepad to the right level of expectation, and that was really unfortunate. And so those are the kinds of things that make me think, well, Ubisoft kind of did Nintendo a little bit dirty near the end there, and that didn't sit well with me. As a fan of Watch Dogs, the game, and as a fan of Wii U, and as a fan of Ubisoft, and as a fan of Nintendo, all of these different entities combined, I didn't like seeing that whole amalgamation of entities kind of just blow up and fall flat, and everything just sort of went to shit, and that bothered me. So when I think about Ubisoft saying some of these things, Ubisoft and Yves Guillemot saying these things, I just think to myself, well, do you really mean it? Are you just blowing smoke up our skirts? Are you trying to, pull a little smoke and mirrors kind of action on us, pull a rope-a-dope? Because if so, I'm going to be really pissed. And a lot of gamers are going to be really pissed. And a lot of Nintendo fans and Wii U fans and NX supporters, of which there are going to be many, everyone's going to be pissed. And Ubisoft, you really can't afford that because you've had a lot of bad will the last couple of years. You have goodwill too because you make a lot of games that sell very well and do well. People like Ghost Recons and Rainbow Sixes as well. For Honor certainly seems like it's going to be pretty cool. A lot of people liked The Division. I don't think there's a big community anymore, but I know that it was a very popular game, sold well, reviewed well, and I was actually curious to try it, but I never got a chance to. So, Ubisoft is doing the right things in terms of quality games and even new IPs, to be fair. But all this crap with Nintendo, all this crap with your broken games and the Assassin's Creed debacles the last few years and your frame rates and all this shit, it's like you can't really put yourself in this kind of scenario again. So those things certainly make me nervous, but I'm going to come back around and end positively, guys. At the end of the day, just like a lot of other people have said, this is something to be excited for. This tells us that the NX really could be the things that we want. This says that potentially the NX has very acceptable, comparable, appropriate power. This isn't telling us that the NX is, twice as powerful as a PlayStation 4 Pro, or even twice as powerful as a regular PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. This is telling us, at least to me, this tells me that it's going to be acceptable power to hopefully be able to port third-party multi-platform games and to hopefully entice third parties to make brand new games potentially, because maybe that's what Ubisoft is doing and why he's so excited. It also tells me that the things that make Nintendo are still intact. So with any luck, this could be, and I'm shooting for the stars here because a lot of this could be not true, but I'm going to shoot for the stars and say this could be the perfect marriage of everything, where it's a system with enough power to make gamers happy, a system with enough power to make third parties happy, and a system with enough quirky ideas and innovation to make typical Nintendo fans happy, and maybe, just maybe, we all get everything we want. It's probably not going to be that way, but we can hope. So we have some positive comments coming from the CEO of one of the largest and most successful third-party developers in the industry about Nintendo and their next generation platform and the new ideas. That's pretty exciting, guys. It may all turn out to be not true. It may turn out to be a lie. It may all fall flat. But honestly, this doesn't feel that way. This feels pretty good. So while we're still waiting to find out all the final details and what this stupid thing is and when Nintendo's going to show it to us, right now we have something pretty positive to pay attention to. So let's just hold on to that and hope that it all comes true. So that is what's going on with Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot, and everything that he's saying about Nintendo and the NX. Tell me what you guys think about this below. Again, I know I'm like the 100th person you've heard talk about this, but now that you've heard my 2 cents, do you think that these are words and comments that we can trust? Do you think we should be a little bit worried and concerned that they haven't been trustworthy in the past? Tell me your thoughts about this below. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule to Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.